All right, so saving roadside wildflowers with Gina Hill. Gina Hill is a Pennsylvania native with a keen interest and passion for conserving Florida's land and wildlife. She joined the Florida Wildlife Foundation in early 2021 as the North Florida Wildflower Alliance liaison for the FDOT's District 2 counties. Gina builds wildflower advocacy by creating conservation action plans, conducting outreach to local partners and the general public, and recruiting volunteer county coordinators. Gina also works at Florida Natural Areas Inventory, where she serves as the North Florida Butterfly Conservation Coordinator. In her free time, Gina enjoys hiking with her dogs, paddling Florida's rivers, taking photos, and botanizing in natural areas across Florida.
Thanks, Adam. And thanks for having me and inviting me to speak today as well. So today I'm going to talk about saving Florida's roadside wildflowers. And so I'll talk a bit about the importance of wildflowers and also some ways that you can start a wildflower program in your county. There we go. Just to give a little bit of background on the Florida Wildflower Foundation, our goal is to protect, connect, and expand native wildflower habitat through education, research, planting, and conservation. My mouse out of here. There we go. And you may have seen some of the license plates around Florida. So whether you have this new look or the old one, this is the new one here, you're funding research, education, and planting projects across the state. So this is one of the main sources of funding for the Wildflower Foundation. So we encourage purchasing this license plate if you get the chance. And so just to talk a bit about why roadsides matter, in general, roadsides are a great place to see relic prairie plants and an abundance of insects. And I often like to ask people, you know, when you're driving down the highway or just along country roads, what would you rather see? Would you rather see a big swath of green turf, or would you like to see a diverse right-of-way with various wildflowers and insects? Native grasses and flowers are also very aesthetically pleasing. This is an area in Alachua County near High Springs with an incredible display of wildflowers. This is my dog Tilly, who was my model for the day. And I like to use her as a demonstration for how to enjoy wildflowers in the spring because she just does it so well. And roadsides are often a really great way to see some rare plants in some cases. This is an area in the Panhandle near Apalachicola that has a really great display of pitcher plants. This is Sarracenia psittacina, I believe, and really is just a very cool flagship species in this area. And it can grow, it mostly grows in wetter areas, and these rare plants can occur in dry or wet areas. Sometimes there's some ditches where you can see some really cool plants. Roadsides are known to have value as habitat for plants as well as birds, small mammals, amphibians, reptiles, and various insects. Roadsides can also be a refuge for pollinators, especially in landscapes that have been substantially altered by urbanization or agriculture. Since roadsides are often the only semi-natural areas remaining in heavily altered landscapes, these marginal habitats can provide pollinators with places to forage for food and areas for them to nest as well. So roadsides with undisturbed native vegetation provide improved wildlife habitat. They also reduce long-term weed and erosion control costs and improve water filtration into the soil. And a really good example of insects using roadsides is seen in the monarch butterfly. As many of you know, its host plant is milkweed, and one of the main species of milkweed that grows in Florida is Asclepias humistrata, also commonly known as the sandhill milkweed. Which it grows really well in roadsides in sandy areas. And there's been some evidence that Florida in particular is a stepping stone for the monarch remigration in the spring. So roadsides in particular could play a really important role in this remigration. And there's been a lot of scientific literature that's been ongoing over the past few years talking about the importance of roadsides as wildlife habitat. Just to read a couple quotes that are up here right now. Road verges offer a significant opportunity to mitigate the negative ecological effects of roads and to address demand for ecosystem services in urban and agricultural landscapes. Evidence suggests that the benefits of road verges to pollinators far outweigh the costs. And we know that pollinators can move several kilometers over various types of landscapes, and roads tend to bisect major agricultural lands in Florida. And the impact of pollination to Florida agriculture is estimated at $1.12 billion annually. That's a major impact on the Florida economy, which is actually the second largest economy in Florida, second only to tourism. And so as agriculture continues to expand, insect pollination will continue to play a major role. And some of you have heard about this insect apocalypse that's been going on. Recent regional reports and trends in biomonitoring have suggested that insects are experiencing a multi-continental crisis that's apparent as reductions in abundance, diversity, and biomass. These trends of declines extend to populations of managed and wild insect pollinators, which is raising a lot of concerns about food security. This alarming trend has prompted proactive strategies to help restore, improve, and better manage pollinator habitat on many landscapes, large and small, and that extend well beyond just the farm border. In recent conservation research has been focused on how we can mobilize all landscapes, and not just conservation lands, but built environments as well, such as suburban and urban landscapes and road verges. And it's probably also not news to you that there's a lot of development happening in Florida. It's estimated that 900 to 1,000 people move to Florida every single day. The state population is expected to double by 2060. Florida loses approximately 170 square miles of natural habitat per year, which is estimated to be an area about 50% larger than Tampa. And when a lot of this growth is happening and a lot of the development is taking place, we're seeing a lot of habitat fragmentation going on. And so loss and isolation of habitats due to urban sprawl severely threatens biodiversity and results in species and ecosystem decline. Landscapes in the built environment can contain rich flora that contribute greatly to biodiversity. So if you sort of think about these green dots here as conservation lands, we want to think about ways to connect these areas and sort of to create corridors for species to move freely. And some of the work that we're doing at the Florida Wildflower Foundation is trying to connect the dots of native habitats through these urban corridors. And a big way that we're doing this is by giving grants to schools and various communities and really educating homeowners and landscape professionals. So just in the United States, we have 4 million miles of paved roads, and along nearly all of them, grass is maintained instead of just naturally occurring wildflowers. So these linear strips of land connect natural areas, urban environments, and agricultural lands. They function as potential movement corridors that are critical, especially in an increasingly urbanized world where insects are navigating fragmented landscapes. They also provide a way, like I was saying, for the monarch to migrate in the fall or remigrate in the spring, or bees to navigate from one landscape to another. So these are perpetually managed landscapes. They're never developed, so they can really function as true habitat. They can provide nesting resources, critical forage, and they connect populations to keep them diverse over time. So we want to try to connect these corridors of wildflowers to allow pollinators to move and thrive. And what we're doing is try to provide guidance to various counties and the Florida Department of Transportation. We are organizing regional wildflower alliances. So in my case, I'm in charge of the North Florida Wildflower Alliance. We also have one in the Panhandle as well. And we're also trying to actively conduct surveys on these roadsides. And I'm so sorry if you can hear my dog barking in the background. So in general, roadsides represent a great opportunity to build pollinator corridors while restoring and preserving wildflowers and native remnant communities. A lot of times, in most cases, it's not possible to burn along these roadsides. So periodic mowing actually can help to mimic fire in a lot of cases when the mowing is done properly. So Florida's state transportation system has more than 12,000 miles of roads, and we can try to turn some of that into pollinator corridors simply by mowing half of the right-of-way less. And so this is sort of a cross-section of a typical road. And we like to talk with counties and say, you know, we're not asking you to quit mowing or plant seeds or spend money at all. What we're asking you to do is just mow half of the road once a year during the dormant season. And, you know, what you'll see on the left side here is the back slope. So we're basically just saying, you know, mow that once a year in December or January. And then basically from the edge of the road to the ditch is the safety strip. And that will be mowed at its usual frequency, whatever FDOT or the county needs to do to maintain safety. And so we basically just want them to leave the back slope alone until the dormant season. And this specifically allows naturally occurring wildflowers to come up. And then we can ask FDOT or the county to post signs so that contractors know where to stop mowing. And I like to give this example. In Santa Rosa County, there was a retired science teacher that started a wildflower program, I believe as part of a Master Gardeners project. And she saved the county a ton of money by just mowing half of the right-of-way and saving the back slope. So over 3 years, they actually saved over $210,000. I think I forgot a K after that 210, but in general, FDOT spends about 15 million tax dollars annually to mow roadsides, and 30% of this could be saved by implementing reduced mowing. And like I said, you know, we're not asking them to plant anything, just to mow less. And so if you're a wildflower advocate and you'd like to get involved in conservation work, I'm just going to quickly talk about a few ways that you can do that. You might have a particular skill set that you can help move a wildflower program forward in your county. There are procedures that were made in a pilot project in the Panhandle in District 3, where volunteers and wildflower advocates could go to their local county commission and seek a way to get support for wildflowers to be preserved in rights of way along state and county roads. And so the first step in the process is that a wildflower resolution needs to be passed by your Board of County Commissioners in your county. So that's the first thing you need to do. And if you're targeting state roads, this will give assurance to FDOT that there is support at a local political level. And we have a template that you can essentially just fill in the blanks with your county name, modify it however you need to, and move it through your county commissioners and get the resolution passed that way. And there are also wildflower advocates that will go out and monitor roadsides once the program is established to make sure that the signs are in place and roads are being mowed properly. There's also specific ways to get involved. Like I was saying, if you have a specific skill set where You know, if you're a good writer or a speaker, you want to do public outreach and education to your local community or government, this is a great way to spread the message about why roadside wildflowers matter. And next, we typically like to have a team set up in each county. And usually we'll have one person as sort of the leader or spokesperson for each county. This person will be the gatekeeper for all communication with the team and FDOT. It'll be FDOT if you're going for state roads, or Public Works if you're going for county roads. And these groups are generally set up of various groups such as native plant societies, such as you all, master gardeners, Audubon, garden clubs, etc. And so this is from our foundation website. On the left here, the gray area, you can sort of see a template for the model wildflower resolution. And so this is sort of where you can just plug and fill things in. And we have various materials that you can use as well, such as presentations if you want to go to your Board of County Commissioners and give a talk about setting up a wildflower program in your county. You can also request letter templates from us, and we have various other materials for educational purposes. And this map shows specifically all the different counties in Florida. So District 2 is where we all are, I think for the most part. And the green counties here, you can see there's not as many filled out. So this green means that there's a wildflower resolution that's already established in this county, and the yellow means that there is not yet a wildflower resolution established. So you can actually go on the website and download when the resolution was established and find any information associated with it. We actually just passed a resolution in Suwannee County, so that's exciting as well. And I'm not going to go through all these steps right now, but we do have some resources on the website where you can see step by step what you need to do in order to start a wildflower program in your county. And you know, we're obviously going to provide any guidance to you along the way if this is something that you're interested in doing. And it's usually you can get it passed in just a few weeks. And so when it comes to conserving roadside wildflowers, a lot of people think that, you know, we are actively seeding these roads, when actually we're just focusing on naturally occurring wildflower areas. And so the first spot to look for appropriate roads to include in your program is adjacent to public conservation lands, such as wildlife management areas, state parks, et cetera, because there's a good chance that there's already some good management going on there. And a few other criteria that make certain roads a good candidate are that you don't have a lot of driveways impacting the roadside. Invasive species should generally be pretty minimal, and the right-of-way should be at least 5 to 6 feet wide. And so once you've selected appropriate roads to be designated wildflower areas, you can write up a brief report with photos and coordinates and send it to FDOT or the county. And if FDOT accepts your proposal, they will go and survey the roads and approve or revise the terms. A lot of times they might have other roads that they want to include as well. In general, working with FDOT in District 2 has been amazing, and they have a really incredible wildflower program in this district. So they've been really great to work with so far. And then once specific roads are designated, they'll go and install their own signs on state roads. And if you're working with the county, they'll go ahead and design their own signs and install them as well. And so we do have a group of volunteers that go out every 2 to 3 weeks in the spring and fall, basically just to look for any invasive species that might need to be treated, any listed species that might occur along the roadsides. If the wildflower signs are in place and, no contractors have mowed them over or something, which we have seen quite a few times. And just to make sure that the contractors are adhering to the mowing guidelines. And so one example of a successful program I want to talk about is in Alachua County, where I am. So we're working with Public Works, who has shown a huge amount of support for this wildflower program. Public Works is responsible in Alachua County for 640 miles of paved roads and 240 miles of graded roads in the county. And so the Board of County Commissioners passed the resolution in 2012 to support the conservation of over 405 seeded and naturally occurring wildflowers along roadsides in the county. And we have a team of 15 really dedicated volunteers that will go out and help us monitor these roads. And we have some different tools that we like to use that I'll just briefly discuss. One of them, which I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with, is iNaturalist. We have this project that's set up for Alachua County. And so as soon as you make an observation and upload it to iNaturalist of a plant or something that's blooming, it'll show up in this project. So this is open to the public. And we do have a separate project that is closed to just the Alachua Wildflower Team volunteers, which is really just a way for them to upload their observations and not have to wade through, thousands of other observations from other users in iNaturalist. And another tool that's been really great is Google Maps, because, when we're going out, we want to look, like I said, for invasive species, any damaged signs, mowing inconsistencies, and being able to just upload photos of georeferenced photos is a really great way to just report back to Public Works, and they can go ahead and, take management and get that done as soon as possible. And just to recap here, there are several different ways for you to get involved. One really easy way, which all of you have already done, is just joining a group of like-minded wildflower advocates. If you feel like you can step up and be a leader in your county, that would be amazing. That way you can work with FDOT and your county commissioners and Public Works and all that. And really get the group together to monitor these roadsides. Simple things like just documenting your observation in iNaturalist is really helpful. And if you feel the need to educate your community and local governments, we have a lot of different resources for you. And so, like I said, District 2, we still have some work to do. I went ahead and listed the different counties in District 2. So I think Ixia chapter is Nassau, Duval, and Clay. And out of those three, only Duval has a wildflower resolution set up. So we definitely have some work to do there. And one thing I want to do in North Florida is create a brochure like this that was created in the Panhandle. It's called Native Wildflowers of Florida's Panhandle. And so a lot of the observations that you make in iNaturalist and things like that could really benefit making a brochure like this. And it was really made to, highlight different areas in different regions of Florida and be able to show where major wildflower hotspots are. And on our website, you can go and see a lot of different brochures that we have. If you want to find plants for attracting birds or bees or butterflies, we have a brochure for that. We have different things for, plants for shady areas and a lot of different things that you can use for native plants and in just your yard as well. And with that, I will wrap up and take any questions.
All right, if anyone has any questions, feel free to since we're kind of a small group tonight, you can ask if you want, or text them in the text box. Either way.
Gina, this is Walter. I have a question about the seating that the Department of Transportation does. Although your goal is to just use the natural progression of the wildflowers, but I think a lot of the seeds that are used when they're seeded are not necessarily Florida natives. Do you see that as a problem, or are there any invasives possibly mixed in with that?
Yeah, and that is something that we have talked to FDOT about. And a lot of the seeding that's already been done has been done with things like phlox or Coreopsis basalis, which is not a native Coreopsis. I don't believe that there's any invasives included in the seed mix that they've already used. But we have talked with them in the future if they are going to seed, to potentially use a mix that is consisted with only native plants, only native species. And the ones that have already been seeded, like the phlox and the Coreopsis basalis, I don't think they're an issue. They're still Florida friendly, and they still are contributing to the pollinators. And when they bloom, they really bloom en masse. I mean, I'm sure that a lot of you have seen these species blooming. So I don't think that's an issue, but they are actively looking out for any invasive species to treat. So hopefully in the future, we can work with them to just plant natives as well.
So it's really hard to essentially give them like a plant list, or to say, hey, we can get seeds from these certain more localized species. I guess that's really tough to do.
Yeah, I mean, I think it seems like a lot of their management happens district by district. It doesn't seem like, they're really implementing things on a statewide scale. So in that sense, it might be a little bit easier to sort of work with the district and tell them, these are our recommendations, and maybe you can consider getting seeds from here instead of where you usually get them from,
So I've seen some signs around like St. Johns County that say like wildflower roadside. I'm sure you've seen them. They're small, like brown signs, and there's nothing on them. It's just grass. Is there, how do we contact the county as far as like say, hey, how can I be involved with planting things there, or are we allowed to plant stuff there?
Yeah, so it's a state road?
Yes, it's a state road, yeah.
Okay, and which county did you say?
St. Johns County. It's right, okay. Kate would know. It's right next to the Julington Creek Bridge.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
It's a right away right on. Oh, it's San Jose, which I don't know. That's considered. It's probably a county road instead. So I'm not sure how that works.
Yeah, I would.
13 in St. Johns County.
Okay. The first step I would be taking is to see if, let's see here. Yeah, so we do have a resolution set up in St. Johns County. So I would go ahead and see if we can find information on who's in charge, like who initially set up that resolution, and if there is actually an active wildflower program ongoing in that county, because a lot of times people will set up a resolution and then they just don't do anything about it. So that might be the case, but we could definitely look into that and see if we can find any other information about it before we just go and contact FDOT about that.
Okay. Yeah, it's something that I would love to get our chapter involved with, but it just seems like working with FDOT is, it's not that easy, is what I've heard.
Yeah, once you have a good contact with them, it's, they're pretty receptive, but that's why we want to have just a spokesperson for each county, so that there's not just a bunch of volunteers contacting them and bombarding them. So we try to keep it a little organized.
Is there a contact person for Duval?
For FDOT?
Yeah.
So Larry Porter and Cindy Trammell are the main contacts for FDOT in District 2. So they don't operate on a county by county basis. They operate within districts. So that they would be the contacts for District 2. Yep, go ahead.
Does the roadside program operate on interstate highway segments, or are the rules about roadway access prohibitive?
They do operate on interstates. It really just depends which portions are going to have, like I said, those naturally occurring wildflower areas. So those are the areas that will be included in the program. But in some cases, we do have areas that are seeded, like I was talking about in Alachua County. And a lot of cases in District 2, we just have so many areas that just have, you know, the non-native Coreopsis and phlox. And like I said, that's okay that we have that. We definitely want the native species, but we are going to also include those big swaths of Coreopsis and phlox as well. So in terms of the interstate, we try to limit. We want to obviously think about safety, because if we have volunteers going out there, we want to make sure that, you know, they're not just like jumping off on the side of the highway. So we try to include other roads that are a little bit more safe to monitor.
Yeah, I see big opportunities on 95, but I thought the same reason, like it's probably so dangerous to have volunteers out there, and, you know.
Yeah.
What are some of the species that you see in a lot of these seed mixes?
That's a good question. I specifically haven't worked a lot with the seed mixes that are already out there. But, you know, we want to work with a lot of different like graminoids and native grasses as well as wildflowers.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of utility of both of those for wildlife. Our focus is mostly on wildflowers, but a lot of like the native Coreopsis is a really big one. But I'm not sure what else is included in the other seed mixes specifically.
I have a question.
Okay.
Sorry.
So Betsy had a question. Are there currently any programs or volunteers in Nassau County?
I don't believe so. It looks like we do not have a wildflower resolution that was initiated in that county yet. So if you're interested in starting one, let me know. I can help you along the way. But as far as I know, there's nothing going on in Nassau.
Nassau's maybe like a unique opportunity because it's about to get overdeveloped, but unlike Duval and St. John's, a lot of the county roads up here do have native wildflowers. But once like a subdivision goes in or a development, even though there's technically a right of way, they tend to assume ownership and mow and maybe even plant like St. Augustine grass or whatever they want the entrance of their neighborhood to look like. Yeah, then there's actually a couple of endangered plants on county road right of ways up here that could certainly use some protection.
That's great to know. Yeah, if you have specific locations in mind, let me know. We also have a contractor that works with the foundation that surveys a lot of these areas. So I can also ask him if he's included Nassau in any of his surveys yet.
Okay, that would be awesome. I'll send you an email.
Okay, perfect.
Now, Gina, if we so happen to like find a really endangered plant species on the side of a road, like a county road, are y'all like a good, are you good to, you know, coordinate that too, or are you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, you can definitely coordinate with us. You could send me an email if it's in District 2. I usually don't encourage uploading any listed species to iNaturalist. I think that from my experience, iNaturalist will automatically obscure any listed species, but they'll obscure the location. But typically, if you know it's listed, it's better to probably just not share that information. So you can definitely coordinate with us on it if you find something like that.
Yeah, I feel like we always find really endangered plants on the side of the road. So
mm-hmm. It's cool though.
yeah, it's wonderful, but it's still like, in a way you're like, oh, I wonder if they'll be there next year. So it's
Oh yeah, Adam can spot those from. We were coming back from Etnaya Forest, and we were coming down past Camp Blanding or someplace in that area, and all of a sudden Adam's yelling, turn around, turn around. And next thing you know, we're in the roadside right in the middle of all these wildflowers. It was just like cars zooming by. So it was rather exciting, actually.
Yeah, they were Rudbeckia natitas.
Yeah. And, there is one program that I don't remember his name, but he works at the zoo, but he has this big project going with that Chapman fringed orchid along the roadway.
Oh, that's very cool. I still need to see that plant.
Yeah. Are you familiar with his efforts? Because he actually goes out and finds the locations and actually has contacts with DOT about the mowing and all that.
Oh, that's great.
Oh, who is it? Houston.
Houston. Yeah, I can't remember his first name.
I know where one of those populations are in Baker County. If you want to see it, Gina, I can give you the location of it. And there's actually a sign that says, doesn't say orchids, but it does say like endangered plants or wildflowers.
Oh, that's interesting.
Good.
Yeah. So it's kind of good and kind of bad, I think. But
I wonder who put that sign up.
It's definitely an official sign. Someone, with those machines made it for sure.
Okay.
But
this program is really organized. It's part of the Jacksonville Zoo, and this is, they've actually had people come down from Atlanta Botanical Gardens and work on this because it's apparently a very important project to the zoo to protect the Chapman fringed orchid.
Yeah, it's a good location. The one in Baker too. It's got tons of other platantheras and hybrids, and it's a really, really cool spot.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'd love to see it. Hannah also just mentioned that to keep an eye out for the FNA, the Florida Natural Areas Inventory iNaturalist project. Did you want to say anything about that, Hannah? I actually haven't worked too much with it. She might not have a microphone. Anyways.
Oh, I do.
Oh, okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
So yeah, if you do find something that is state or federally listed or endangered and you are, iNaturalist does obscure it, the location. Sometimes, it can be easier than others to deduce where, even if it is obscured, where the location is. But if you feel like it is pretty safe to put up there, especially for these plant species, that are not really known to be over collected or anything like that. We being FNA do have an iNaturalist project, which you can add these listed plant species locations to. And what that then allows us to do is to be able to see and when I say us, I mean just a select few of us at FNA, be able to see the exact location of your observations instead of just what's available to the broader iNaturalist community, to the public, the obscured location. And then that way we can actually add it to our rare plant conservation database and use that data.
Great, thanks, Anna.
Awesome.
Kate, did you have a question?
Yeah, question / comment. A number of years ago, back when we met up at Regency, it's been at the back of my mind that it would be I think a worthwhile project for ICSIA to have it somehow set up so that if people do see wildflowers by the side of the road, that we can report it and somehow get it, you know, on these lists for the conservation. And it sounds like working with you guys would be the best way to go about doing that. You know, and maybe, I don't know, like I say, to me, it sounds like a project that ICSIA could set up as sort of one of the things that we're doing. And here's how you go about reporting it. I did look on y'all's website, and there's a link for the for the Duval County resolution, but then the link is broken. So I don't know if, and it was from 2011. So I don't know if we still have an active resolution or what it says or anything. But I think if we could get some interested people, and certainly Betsy, get Clay and NASA involved. Like you say, now is a good time to do it for places that aren't overdeveloped. And there's certainly, just driving to work back before COVID, there's places next to 95 where there's wildflowers that it would be, you know, if there was an easy way to get that reported and listed so it doesn't get mowed, that'd be like worthwhile activity for ICSIA.
What about